I love talking about generations. Boomers, millennials, Gen Xers. Like, they are the reason everything is the way it is. That as a group, each generation intentionally does this or that or the other. It's just amusing to me. Maybe that's a Gen X thing, I don't know. What I find to be extremely important, though, is the material fact that all of these generations find themselves in, where they first came of adulthood, and where they find themselves in their material fact right now. Material analysis is everything if you want to talk about generations. The success of the housing market depends greatly on the contribution of these three generations. In particular, Boomers, Millennials, and Gen Xers really play an important role in the housing market. With Boomers coming of retirement age, the Millennials entering their prime home buying years, and Gen Xers with more stable income and families, it's an ideal time to examine how these three generations approach and purchase a home in the system. Let's explore how their lifestyles, preferences, and buying motivations differ, and how these differences can help inform strategies when you're trying to put an offer in to buy a home, or just create opportunities for housing in the future. The housing market swings in and out of favor from one generation to the next. You have baby boomers who were born roughly 1946 to 64, who were the first generation to invest in property as a viable financial asset. And as such, many of them have been able to enjoy the financial benefits of home ownership. Having said that, they were not the first to own property and realize those benefits of property ownership. They were just the first generation who had anything like a democratic capacity to own property, whereas in the past, that was more strictly the province of the wealthy. So one might argue that boomers have ensured that their assets remain high and highly valued by manipulating interest rates. I've seen this argument in Forbes a few times, and the argument hinges on the observation that boomers saw some of the highest inflation that the United States has ever had to contend with. By 1980, if you think about it, by 1980, if you had a mutual fund in the stock market, that mutual fund hadn't seen a whole lot of growth since 1970. So it would make sense that that kind of marks you and ensures that you're going to do whatever you have to do to make sure that your assets are valued highly. Material analysis, right? Millennials, roughly 1980 to 2005, are the largest generation in the United States. As such, they have become a major player in the housing market. Millennials have been interested in smaller homes generally with upgraded amenities and walkable neighborhoods that include restaurants, pubs, entertainment, parks, and anything that might support those most prized hobbies. And one thing to keep in mind is that boomers have owned bigger homes for a long time, and they've started moving into some of these smaller homes, which correlate really well with what millennials want. So there is yet another material aspect where boomers and millennials are after similar things, which creates higher demand. What we are facing in terms of the biggest issues for housing has really just been a shortage of housing versus the demand. Part of that shortage is the fact that there are only so many homes that are smaller and high-end with upgrades, that are walkable and have great neighborhoods, and both millennials and boomers seem to have a taste for these specific homes. As the boomers trade out of their bigger homes, there very well might be a glut of really large homes because there just aren't enough Gen Xers to suck up all of those homes. Generation X, roughly 1965 to 1979, has entered a stage of life where they have a more secure income and they might be buying their second or third home. They have families and they want to make sure that they are putting a premium on square footage amenities and family-oriented activities. So Generation X seems to be moving into slightly bigger homes. Still, there really may be a glut of what we have come to call McMansions that really has characterized the homeownership of baby boomers. And as baby boomers abandon these McMansions and Gen X moves into them, there may well be quite a few left over. So it's something to keep in mind and pay attention to over the next decade. Each of these generations has its own set of preferences and motivations which drive their approach to the housing market, and better understanding of their buying habits can really help inform your decisions and help you make up your mind down the road. Baby boomers tend to be less risk averse than their younger counterparts and are a little bit more likely to take advantage of low interest rates and down payment assistance programs. They often buy larger homes in suburban and rural areas, focusing on move-in ready homes that require minimal renovation, are in close proximity to amenities and services like movie theaters and hospitals. They're also a little bit more likely to use traditional financing options like the 30-year mortgage. Millennials, on the other hand, tend to favor starter homes that require fewer upfront investments and offer potential for upgrades and appreciation. They're a little bit more likely to invest in properties in urban and suburban areas, often relying on slightly smaller mortgages and other financing options like FHA loans and adjustable rate mortgages. Having said that, the number of adjustable rate mortgages, or ARMs, that we have right now as a whole in the economy is much, much smaller than it was in 2008, maybe 20% of what it was in 2008. So they're also a little bit more likely to take on larger projects like renovations and remodeling projects. Generation X is often overlooked when it comes to home buying and just about everything else. So goes the complaint anyway. But since there's sandwiched between baby boomers and millennials, that tends to be something that happens. However, they are increasingly investing in property, often with the help of lower rates and attractive financing options, particularly in neighborhoods that offer proximity to amenities and services, as well as potential for appreciation. They tend to be risk averse, so they use traditional financing options like 15 and 30-year mortgages. And to remain competitive in the housing market, it's really important to understand the changing landscape and the buying habits of each generation. Baby boomers are a little bit more likely to buy move-in ready homes. Millennials are a little bit more likely to focus on starter homes and projects, and Generation X is often looking for lower rates and appreciation potential. So while this is true at the larger scale, there are still definitely the tensions between each generation as they vie for similar homes, like I was talking about. Due to far fewer homes being built after the 2008 Great Recession, the competition between the generations has definitely become a real and serious factor. If you have boomers and millennials going for very similar homes and only so many of those homes available, it's obvious that the price is going to go up. It is evident that the baby boomers, millennials, and Generation X all have different methods to buying a home, but perhaps some goals and tastes that overlap. Baby boomers and Generation X still prefer to purchase a traditional home, while millennials are a little bit more likely to purchase an alternative option, like a tiny home or a shipping container turned into a home. All three generations are a crucial part of the housing market, and understanding how they approach home buying can really help you understand how to approach the market and make a winning offer. Ultimately, finding the perfect home is the highest goal, and a good advocate is going to know how to get you there. By tailoring your offers to the expectations of each generation, you can ensure to a much higher degree that you are going to find exactly the home you want and get into it, no matter the age or background. You can get the perfect home for you in any market. Knowing how to approach that market is a huge part of the battle. I'm Ryan Shupit with Active Utah Homes at Realty One Group Signature. On this channel, I teach you everything you need to know about buying your first home.